Hello, gentlemen. Right now, I want every man over 60 who still maintains the habit of relieving yourself alone to take a few minutes to listen seriously. You might still think, I know my body well, what's there to worry about? But what you don't know might be the very thing silently draining your vitality and performance. I'm Dr. Samuel Grant. For over 20 years, I've walked alongside older men in caring for their sexual and mental health. Every week, I encounter stories just like yours. And let me say this, masturbation is not a bad thing. But if done incorrectly, it can disrupt hormones, hinder blood circulation, and worse, make you feel increasingly lonely and disconnected from yourself. On the other hand, when done properly, it can become a tool to help maintain masculine strength in your later years. The difference lies in the technique, the timing, and in listening to your body. In today's video, I'll share 6 silent risks that almost no one warns you about, how to turn this habit into a natural health-boosting remedy, and most importantly, a simple technique that takes only 7 seconds but could help restore the erections and desire you thought you had lost. No medication, no prescription, just a bit of science tailored to the condition of men over 60. And if you think the first part of this video is just a light introduction, think again. Because right after this, I'll reveal a risk that directly affects your emotions and mental well-being, something most people never associate with masturbation. By the way, before we begin, I'd love to get to know you. Where in the world are you watching this video from? Leave a comment below. I'd be happy to know who I'm sharing this journey with today. If this is your first time visiting the channel, don't hesitate to hit subscribe and turn on notifications, so we can continue to share helpful men's health tips in future videos. Now let's dive into the first risk, a truth few dare to speak about, but one that quietly steals the life energy of many men each day. Risk 1, always feeling exhausted. When hormones are thrown off by your private habit, let's talk about something no one really wants to admit. There's a silent drain on energy that many men over 60 don't even notice. Every morning you wake up, even after getting enough sleep, taking your meds on time, eating properly, but your body still feels drained. Does that sound familiar? I once had a patient named Robert, 68 years old. He used to be a skilled engineer who loved walking and woodworking. But then he found himself lacking the energy to do even the smallest things. I feel like a battery drained overnight, doctor, and I don't even know why, he shared, confused. The surprising part is, that condition didn't come from any clear medical issue. It stemmed from a factor few consider, the repeated habit of masturbation, done like a reflex to soothe boredom or stress. Biologically, each time you orgasm, the body releases cortisol, a stress hormone. And when this happens too often, the body is forced to activate an internal fire-extinguishing mechanism. What's the result? You fall into prolonged fatigue, disrupted metabolism, and lose that vibrant energy you once had. But the consequences don't stop there. When you feel tired, you move less. When you move less, your muscles shrink, stamina drops, and your mind slows down. Gradually, this spiral can lead to cardiovascular decline, poor balance, falls, and even loss of independence in daily life. Sounds extreme, but it's the truth I've seen in many older patients, men who believed that frequent release would help them stay in shape. But in reality, the body after 60 requires completely different principles. Your hormones, muscles, and circulation have all changed, and if you keep forcing your body without giving it time to recover, the consequences will slowly accumulate. So what should you do? It's very simple. Keep a moderate pace, about 2 to 3 times a week is enough. On the other days, let your body rest and recharge naturally. Also, don't forget to maintain a well-balanced diet, stay hydrated, and move your body gently. Right after this, we'll move into a topic no one expects. Why your brain, the very thing that once led you through a lifetime of achievements, could be getting steered off course by this very habit. My friend, if you're still watching the video up to this point, that tells me you genuinely care about men's health and private habits after 60. Please leave a number 1 in the comments below so I know you're still here with me on this journey. Risk 2, losing interest in life, when your brain becomes dependent on solitary pleasure. After seeing the effects on the body, now we need to talk about a place even more vulnerable, your brain. And this issue isn't as simple as feeling sleepy or a bit forgetful. It involves something called dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for creating feelings of reward and excitement. You remember that sense of satisfaction after each climax, right? Dopamine is the one behind that feeling. But here's a little-known truth. The adult brain, especially after age 60, reacts to dopamine very differently than it did when you were younger. Dopamine receptors become less sensitive with age, forcing you to repeat stimulating behaviors more often to achieve the same level of satisfaction. A classic example is Thomas, 71 years old, once a disciplined and principled high school principal. But he confided in me, "It no longer feels like pleasure. It's as if I have to do it every day just to think clearly." That was no longer a choice, but a quiet form of dependency. When a private behavior becomes a required habit for you to feel okay, it's no longer just a preference. It's touching on the mechanism of behavioral addiction. And if you think addiction is something for teenagers stuck on video games or social media, I'm afraid it might be happening inside your own mind, even in retirement. The overrepetition of stimulating behavior causes the brain to adapt and demand more stronger, deeper, faster. And this gradually dulls your enjoyment of things that once brought joy. Reading, gardening, fixing things, or simply sipping tea with a loved one. Over time, all other pleasures become faded. That's when you begin to lose connection, not only with the world around you, but with your own emotions. In the next section, I'll reveal a more serious risk, one that many older men never suspect is related to masturbation, cardiovascular stress, and the symptoms that seem completely unrelated. Risk 3. A cardiovascular warning: climax may shock your heart after 60. This is something that even many seasoned cardiologists often overlook: the connection between masturbation and sudden alerts from the heart. I once saw a patient named Frank, 72 years old. He was very serious about his health, ate properly, took his meds on time, monitored his blood pressure weekly, clockwork precision like a Swiss watch. Yet he kept experiencing strange symptoms: rapid heartbeat, chest tightness, sudden dizziness, even though he wasn't climbing stairs or exercising strenuously. After weeks of monitoring without finding the cause, his wife, an observant woman, began noting the timing of the symptoms. And then she discovered something sensitive that Frank was too shy to mention. Those symptoms usually occurred right after he had relieved himself privately. Here's the truth. Reaching climax, whether alone or with a partner, triggers a sudden spike in heart rate and blood pressure. And as you know, after 60, the cardiovascular system is no longer as agile as it once was. Your heart is now like an old car. It still runs well, but it can't handle sudden acceleration without warning. Unlike exercise, where your body has time to warm up and gradually increase intensity, masturbation often happens in a private, rushed setting without rhythm control. And that can leave your cardiovascular system shocked in an instant. For someone with a history of high blood pressure, diabetes, or a cardiac stent, that tiny shock could be the final drop that overflows the cup. The solution isn't to eliminate the activity entirely, but to reduce the frequency, regulate the intensity, and most importantly, be honest with your doctor if you experience symptoms like chest pain, dizziness, or irregular heartbeat after self-relief. A short conversation could save you from a frightening night in the emergency room. But the issue doesn't stop at heart health. There's another type of disorder that creeps in silently, not only impairing memory, but also affecting how you connect with your loved ones. And that's exactly what we'll explore together right after this. If you're still watching the video up to this point, thank you for sticking with me until now. I truly appreciate and value that. Please leave a number 3 in the comments below so I know I'm not talking to myself here. Risk 4. Loss of focus, fading memory, when climax becomes your only way to cope with stress. One of the most overlooked signs of overusing the habit of relieving yourself alone is the loss of concentration and clear thinking, especially after the age of 60. Let me tell you about David, a veteran accountant, 69 years old, once famous for his sharp memory and clear thinking. But lately, his wife and daughter started noticing that he was becoming forgetful, easily distracted, and no longer interested in reading the newspaper or playing with his grandchildren. David described the feeling as if my mind is always spinning in one spot, unable to break free, unable to focus on anything. And sadly, his daily self-relief habit was the hidden root of the problem. When masturbation becomes the only way to ease emotions, especially boredom, loneliness, or anxiety, the brain gradually becomes lazy in searching for healthier solutions. Each orgasm activates dopamine and endorphin release, a quick rush to help escape from negative emotions. But if repeated constantly, the brain becomes rigid, and its ability to adapt to real-life situations starts to weaken. So what happens next? You find it hard to concentrate. You forget small things. You get irritated when you can't release. You may even feel disconnected from people around you. Some begin to withdraw from social activities, neglect old hobbies, and retreat into their own world. But the most important thing is, you can completely reverse this condition. Instead of letting pleasure control your mood, start with simple steps like taking daily walks, trying meditation, journaling, playing music, or reconnecting with old friends. If your emotions are stuck in a loop, then small actions like these will help you reopen the door to reconnect with life. Right after this, I'll share another warning sign, this time found right on your body, one that many men assume is just aging, but may actually be a signal from your daily private habit. Risk 5. Unusually fast hair loss. A warning sign of rising DHT after frequent masturbation. James, 73, once thought a few hairs falling out in the bathtub was normal. My father went bald early, guess I will too, he chuckled when he came to my clinic. But the issue wasn't just regular shedding, his hair was falling unusually fast, and the hairline and crown area became weak, dry, and visibly thinner in just a few months. I didn't doubt the role of genetics, but what caught my attention was a new habit James picked up in retirement, increasing the frequency of masturbation as a daily stress relief. It sounds harmless, but there's a biological factor quietly working in the background. DHT, or dihydrotestosterone, a hormone converted from testosterone, which can rise significantly after each orgasm. In people genetically prone to baldness, DHT is the silent enemy that shrinks hair follicles and speeds up hair loss. Normally, this process happens gradually over years. But if you're stimulating hormones daily, the body responds more aggressively, produces more DHT, and your hair, already fragile due to aging, can't keep up. If you notice your hair weakening rapidly, try cutting down your self-relief to 2-3 times per week, alternating rest days to let your hormones stabilize. At the same time, you can add foods rich in zinc, biotin, and lean protein. Keep a regular exercise routine like walking or swimming. Maintain a relaxed state of mind through meditation or meeting friends. And if needed, talk to your doctor about DHT blockers like finasteride, not to fight aging, but to control the real cause. Hair loss is not just a cosmetic issue, it's an important hormonal signal. And noticing it in time can help you regain confidence before your hair disappears too quickly. In the next part, we'll dive straight into one of the most heartbreaking struggles for older men, when everything drops at the very moment you need performance the most, and the cause lies in habits that seemed harmless. Risk 6. Trouble with your partner when the brain forgets how to respond to real stimulation. Many men assume that after 60, having performance problems is all due to age or low testosterone. That's partly true, but not entirely. A more silent and rarely expected reason is the repeated use of the same masturbation pattern. I'll never forget the story of Michael, 66 years old, just out of a decades-long marriage. He wanted to feel closeness again, but when he met a new woman, things didn't go as expected. His mind was full of desire, but his body betrayed him. Sound familiar? When a man can still perform solo but struggles with a partner, the problem often isn't hormones or blood flow. It lies in the brain. You see, the brain can reprogram itself based on repeated experiences. If you're used to just one style of stimulation, same position, same rhythm, same speed, your brain engraves that as the default route. So when you change the environment, like having real intimacy with a partner, the brain can't respond flexibly. It's stuck in the old pattern. Experts call this reduced erection quality due to repetitive stimulation. The result: weaker erections, quicker letdowns, emotional disconnect, even performance anxiety. The good news is you're not broken. You just need to reset your pleasure response. Here are a few simple steps. Take a complete break from any sexual activity for 7-14 days. Treat it as a gentle mental detox. When returning, change your touch. Go slower, different angles, varied rhythm, avoid repeating the old pattern. Add realistic sensory elements, sounds, scents, touch, so your brain adjusts to new types of stimulation. Finally, don't chase climax. Enjoy the full experience from the beginning to relaxation as a journey, not a race to the finish. The brain after 60 still has neuroplasticity, which means it can still relearn, refeel, and reconnect in a healthy, deeply pleasurable way. As long as you give it time and a chance. And one more thing I want to share, it might make many men blush, but it's extremely important. When pleasure becomes the only emotional refuge, then your mental health and willpower will be the first to suffer. Part 2. Climax is no longer a joy. When masturbation becomes the only emotional refuge. Sex is a natural part of life. But what happens when it accidentally becomes the only escape every time you feel sad, lonely, or lost? David, 69 years old, was once a respected accountant, always proud of his sharp mind and problem-solving skills. But then, after retiring and losing a few close friends, David began sinking into repetitive days filled with vague emotions. And the solution he turned to, masturbation, as a way to help himself get through the day. At first, it seemed fine. But over time, he found it harder to concentrate, lost interest in playing with his grandchildren, and couldn't even finish a newspaper article. While his body was still fine, his mind felt like it was lost somewhere else. This is exactly what happens when the brain slowly becomes dependent on climax as a form of emotional painkiller. Each orgasm delivers a dopamine dose that soothes sadness. But if this method is repeated over and over, your brain loses flexibility, making it harder to cope with real-life emotions. What's the result? You become more withdrawn, easily irritated if you can't release, and gradually neglect the most important connections: family, friends, hobbies, and those little joys that once made life meaningful. But here's the good news. You can unblock your brain. Here are a few simple suggestions. Practice light meditation or slow breathing for 5 minutes each morning. Join light outdoor activities like walking, gardening, or gentle exercise. Keep a journal, learn to draw, play an instrument, anything that helps transform mental energy. And if your emotions feel stuck for too long, don't hesitate to talk to a therapist, because sometimes a gentle conversation can untie a very big emotional knot. Emotions don't need to be suppressed, they just need a healthy space to be heard and healed. And sometimes what you truly need isn't an orgasm, but a hug, a phone call, or a warm meal with someone you love. Part 3. Your brain forgets how to make love for real. The consequence of repeating one stimulation style for too long. Many men over 60 still perform well when alone, but when they're with a real partner, things fall apart. And often they'll assume, it's probably age or mental pressure, or maybe she just isn't the right one. But actually, the cause may start with the repetitive way you've masturbated for too long. I once treated Michael, 66 years old, who was trying to rediscover the feeling of love after a divorce. When he was alone, things were fine, but with a partner, he felt disconnected. Weak erections, quick loss of firmness, and full of anxiety. This is what medicine calls contextual arousal dysfunction. When you become used to a specific type of stimulation, position, speed, setting, the brain deeply records that pattern as the only way to achieve pleasure. And when the situation changes, like having a real partner, the brain doesn't know how to adapt, leading to erectile issues. Imagine the brain like an old radio, it only tunes to one station. If it doesn't learn to expand the signal, then no matter how good the speaker is, there won't be any clear sound. The good news is, you can completely retrain your sexual neural signals, helping the brain relearn how to respond to a wider range of stimulation. Here are some steps you can start today. Stop all sexual stimulation for 7-14 days. This is your system reboot, a chance for the body and brain to relax and restore balance. When returning, change your touch. Adjust speed, angles, and rhythm to create new sensations and break old routines. Add real-life elements, lighting, warmth, scent, background music, breathing pace, to help the brain relink with emotionally engaging experiences. Reset your goal, don't rush. Instead of chasing orgasm, enjoy the entire journey, every sensation, every breath, every emotional shift. After 60, your body hasn't lost its ability to feel pleasure. It just needs to be guided again with more patience and self-compassion. Recovery doesn't come from urgency, but from understanding and adjustment. As you can see, masturbation after 60 isn't bad, and there's nothing shameful about it. It's simply a tool, and like any tool, whether it helps or harms depends on how we use it. If you've ever felt unexplained fatigue, lost your passion for life, or found intimacy slipping away, then maybe this habit is calling for a little adjustment. But that doesn't mean you're weak or wrong. On the contrary, the fact that you're willing to notice and listen to your body is a sign of maturity and wisdom. Remember, you can enjoy a fulfilling, confident, and emotionally rich sex life even after 60 or 70. You just need to give your body a chance to reset by being more moderate, more mindful, and more caring toward yourself. If this video has helped you understand your body better, don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. I truly appreciate it. And if this is your first time visiting the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you won't miss the next videos on men's health, hormones, and holistic happiness in your golden years. Wishing you good health, confidence, and a life fully lived in your own body. See you again in the next video.